This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter JMT15 for your 15% discount on your first order, including this best-selling e-ointment that helps restore the moisture and elasticity in your skin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Judith Mancini Today. I am Judith Mancini, and I'm happy to have you here with us. We have a lot of news. You remember my motto is, or my tagline is, sharing secrets to make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And the wise part is always news. It doesn't necessarily mean it's wise news, but I want you to be aware of what's going on. And I have found that a lot of my friends just listen to what everybody around them is saying. They don't really watch the news or listen to the news or read periodicals such as newspapers, magazines with editorials in them and things like that. So some of them just want to discuss fashion, kids, decorating, whatever. And I'm not belittling that. I think that's fun and I love to do it too. But we are in a very sticky position right now in the United States. And I think people should be paying more attention to what's going on in the news. Yes, I'm hitting people 50 and above, and I want you to have the best golden years of your life. But if you don't watch the news, you may be in a funny position sooner than you think. So let's start out first with what is happening in East Palestine, Ohio, this terrible train derailment. I don't think that the government is telling everybody what's going on. And needless to say, last night they had a meeting there. And the Norfolk Southern Railroad was frightened to even send any spokespeople there because they were afraid for their safety. What? Afraid of their safety, thinking that other outside organizations would come and create havoc, violence, what have you? Well, I'm here to tell you that there's a dangerous thing going on here. The government has a circle that is 1 mile in diameter, which is the high exposure place. And they have told people to evacuate in the immediate area. And that was right after the derailment and the fire burst out and all these chemicals were being sprayed around. But they've already told them they can go back to their homes. Now, the people have gone back to their homes, their children, their husbands, their in-laws, their friends, they are experiencing some pretty dreadful things right now from breathing in these fumes. Headaches, lethargic feelings, sore throats, mental problems, focusing. Do you remember when this happened in Cleveland with the dirty water outside of Cleveland? It still is, it hasn't been cleaned up. They've said here that it's safe to go back. If you one of the 5 wells that they tested, they say the water is okay for drinking, but you might prefer to use bottled water. Are you kidding me? They haven't even said anything about bathing in this water. And if they're saying if you prefer you can drink bottled water, you damn well better be drinking that bottled water because it's not safe. They don't know. They're claiming that the wells are so far down in the ground that they won't be contaminated. Well, the water has to come up out of the well. So it hits the air coming out of your tap. It comes through the soil that is around these pipes, and the well being very easy to contaminate. I don't know. This is very, very scary, and I would suggest that people don't return to their homes. And I would suggest that just sending somebody from the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, out there to talk to people and test one home in a whole block of people isn't cutting it. This is dangerous. This is ridiculous. Do we need to get Aaron Brockovich in there to look at everything? These people are going to be suffering down the line. Remember that this happened where Aaron Brockovich was in California a long, long time ago. And by her work and the attorney she worked with, people now know that these kind of accidents do cause contamination for years to come and horrible consequences of different types of cancer and deaths. If this little area is already experiencing the death of people, excuse me, not people, people's pets is what I meant to say, and chickens and fish are floating in the water, this is not safe. So what is the government hiding up with the almighty Norfolk Southern? Are you aware that they wanted to get these trains running again as fast as they could, and they are running? And what they did was they covered up the dirt around the fire, the subsequent fire, when all these chemicals fell off and were lit into the fire, and they immediately put the trains back to run. That's the almighty dollar again. People's lives don't seem to matter to our government as much as they used to. And neither do they matter, the lives matter to these giant corporations who just can see the almighty dollar. This is a travesty of justice. So watch out, anybody who has friends or relatives in this area, advise them to evacuate and get some money from the government. And I don't know how you do that, but I'm going to figure it out and tell you. So another thing that we are experiencing is balloons. Supposedly they're balloons and they're flying all over, for goodness sakes, and we didn't know. And they're trying to blame Trump, President Trump, for not having known about them, but nobody told him in the Pentagon. The Pentagon didn't say anything about them. So how could he know about them? Can't blame him for everything. But here is the latest on this. We have been told by some people that this is an experiment. We don't know if it's coming from, well, we're pretty sure it's come from China, but we don't know who is actually putting out this kind of information yet. And we're going to explore it. And it sounds pretty feasible when you think of Area 51. And that is in case you're not familiar with it, Area 51 is where a lot of UFOs are spotted, and many people that have been there and worked there and all say that there were aliens dropping things there and landing there. And then, of course, there's the problem of the cows that have been all cut up in different areas, mutilated. So who knows? There could be aliens. So we have just heard that there is a project called Blue Beam, B-E-A-M, Blue Beam that is trying to get us used to the idea of aliens coming from another planet. And it sounds to me that it very well could be true. I'm not out thinking this anymore. It's in my brain all the time. I used to kind of in the beginning scoff at this, but for the last 10 years or so, I have been thinking, as I hear more and more about this is a huge possibility, and why couldn't it be? I believe God created all of this wonderful majesty, but God works in mysterious ways, and he could have created what we call aliens on another planet also. So who's to say it's not true? So we're going to keep an eye on that. What I think is, when President Biden, and I will continue to call him President Biden out of respect for the office, but no respect for the man, I think he should be talking on more than the economy, because this is a political campaign speech that he is going to be using for the next 2 years should he decide to run for office. We'll see what he has to say after he has his physical today. If the people giving the physical have given him any cognitive test, it would be wise to divulge them. Your oath of office, whether you are the physician, the top surgeon in that position in our country, your oath of office is sworn to our country. And President Biden is our president, but he's also the commander-in-chief. So if you have information for this physical or anything else in this government, you should remember who you swore that oath to, the United States of America. So let's all listen in, be one of the people who does listen to the news, does listen to these speeches, and then be able to discuss them with other people. Because as I always say, if you don't speak up and speak out, nothing will change, and it could get much worse. A lot of people think that the balloons are coming over, that they're testing us and what we would do if they started attacking the Chinese. I'm speaking of the Chinese Communist Party. If they started to try to take over Taiwan. We depend on Taiwan. We have a lot of military readiness over there. And they also manufacture a lot of things that are needed in computers and different things like that. So we don't want Taiwan to fall. It would be just another piece for China that is trying to overtake the world. So look up these three things, and see what's going on, and look at the different news sites. Get both sides of it, which I'm trying to tell you, don't just listen to mainstream media by the top 3 networks. I'm saying if you really want to hear some things about the news and people's opinions, look at Fox News and look at CNN. I think you all know which one I prefer, but I'm telling you, you need both sides, and I do look at both sides of the news before I form an opinion. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is a little bit of health and healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm a little backwards, but this is the last piece of news that I want you to be aware of. The CDC, which is supposed to look at all diseases and tell you what's going on. They look at vaccinations and all. Well, I have been told, it was in the Epoch Times, that the CDC is going to put something in your passports or your card, or however they're tracing us, which I guess is the little card that they give you. If you have been vaccinated once or multiple times, and if you don't have any vaccinations, they're going to be tracking you. How they're going to track you if you haven't had any vaccinations, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how they're going to track us anyway, but they are putting these different codes in your files that they keep on you if you have or haven't been vaccinated against COVID-19. And if they're doing that, perhaps they're going to track everybody who hasn't been vaccinated for any of the normal vaccinations that we've been using for years and years, such as smallpox, measles, mumps, and rubella. For goodness sakes, it could be for tetanus, it could be for polio, it could be for anything. So I'm very concerned about this because they're not only trying to track us through the CDC, but now they are trying to also track us through digital dollars and how they're going to change our currency. There won't be any physical currency anymore. All of this is in the news. That's where I get this information, and I don't go into great detail for it. That's why I want you to look at these, look it up on the internet, look it up on the news sites. Just Google some of this stuff or use DuckDuckGo. I think that's the correct way to say it. It's on my laptop, but I could never remember the correct name of it. So all of you become wise. Whether you want to in your golden years, go back and start a business, go to work for someone else, write a book, paint a picture. You still need to know what's going on in your country because guess what? It seems like they're heading in the direction to tell us exactly what we can and cannot do. Okay, stepping into health, I want to talk a little bit about macular degeneration. And I'm going to get my papers out here because I want to discuss that with you, and I don't want to make a mistake on this. Basic Brands Inc. is one of my sponsors, and they make a formula for macular health formula. Now, they didn't ask me to talk about this. This is just one. I'm sure there's other things on the market, but I would suggest I trust Basic Brands Inc. because I know where they are formulated and manufactured, and I've known them for 30 years or more. So that's who I use. But what I want to tell you is there are so many people as they get a little older that they get macular degeneration. And macular degeneration is a common eye disorder among people over 50. So that's why I'm speaking to you. And it causes blurred and reduced central vision due to the breaking down of inner layers of the macula. The macula is the part of the retina that gives the eye clear vision in the direct line of sight. Okay, so this is very important. I've heard of more and more people getting this. First of all, you need to take care of your eyes. If you live in the desert and you have desert air all around you, you might, as you grow older, have macular degeneration because of the dry air constantly, and you don't have humidity in your house. Or during the summer when the humidity goes down in parts of California, we have no humidity. And that would be interesting to find out. How does humidity affect this? But sometimes you just don't manufacture enough moisture for your eyes. And here are some of the symptoms for macular degeneration. Visual distortions such as straight lines seeming bent. Now, I haven't heard of anybody saying that, but it is listed as one of the symptoms. Reduced central vision in one or both of the eyes. Sometimes you get macular degeneration in just one eye, but most of the time you get it in both eyes. So one of the other things is needing a brighter light to read or doing close work. Close work would be writing a note to somebody or embroidering or whatever close work you're doing, sitting and doing the crossword puzzle. If you're having blurred vision for that, you should always have your eyes checked. But if you're doing that, it could be macular degeneration. Now, I will tell you, they list here too, increased difficulty adapting to low light levels, such as when entering a dimly lit restaurant or theater. I don't so much as have blurred vision or having a problem entering a dim restaurant, but I will tell you, I went to lunch with a very sweet friend of mine who is also owns her own business. And we walked into one of our favorite restaurants and we found our table and we could see each other and everybody else around us, but neither one of us could see the small print on the menu. And normally I carry a tiny little flashlight with me for moments like that, and I didn't have one. Well, fortunately, we'd both been there several times, so we kind of knew what we wanted. But I hear this from my girlfriends and my boyfriends, friends that are boys, my husband and I. We never can read the small print on a menu in a dimly lit restaurant. So now we find out it's part of macular degeneration, and we're both overdue for having our eyes checked. So we're going to check that. But we are taking this macular degeneration formula, macular health formula right now. And hopefully it will help us and keep us from getting macular degeneration. So you would have this or start seeing symptoms of macular degeneration if you have increased the blurriness on printed words, a difficulty recognizing faces. Now that is a biggie. Do you go into a cocktail party or a group of people at work or someplace and you're having a problem saying, oh, it's you, Sally. Oh, Dean. Oh, okay, now I see. I don't know. Sometimes I can't see you across the room. Well, this is one of the symptoms of it. If you have a real extreme looking out for blurriness in your field of vision, that is another symptom. Now, also, I want to tell you the risk factors before I tell you to go see an eye doctor. I do want you to go see a doctor. All right, the age that you can start seeing this happen is 50. That's when people start to have their problems with their eyes. I also want to mention this. I'm not doing any absolute information on this today, but around that age too, people start having cataracts. So that's another thing that you should have your doctor look at. If you have a family history, you might have it because this could be genetically passed on. And it seems that it's more common in white people than any other race. So that's what you want to do. Now, if you have cardiovascular disease or obesity, this is another factor, another risk factor. And the last one, I'm speaking definitely to those that I love. Smoking cigarettes or being regularly exposed to tobacco smoke greatly increases your risk of macular degeneration. If you notice any of these changes in your distortion or blind spots in your central vision, or you lose ability to see fine detail, that is more of an emergency, so get in there. But there are other things that can cause blur vision if it just starts immediately, and that could be problems with your heart. It could be a stroke coming on, blurred vision, and not being able to speak correctly is often signs of a stroke coming on, and that demands immediate medical care. So always check with your physicians or your healthcare professionals before you do any of these things. I'm just trying to help you with all of that. Now, I know a lot of the people who listen to me are into coaching and writing books and different things like that, as we've talked about side hustles or we've talked about new careers and things like that. And I want to tell you this book that was sent to me by the author, John Leslie Oliver. He illustrated it. He illustrated it himself. And it's very cute, and it has life, love, religion, fame, politics, sex, and more, as given by the great teachers, philosophers, and writers of the past. I've marked this a couple times, and I want to show this one to you. If you're thinking about what to say next, it doesn't count as a listening. That's by a contemporary American columnist named Mark Patican. So these are not, these are not quotes that are taken from all of the other quote books that give you most of the quotes from famous people like Benjamin Franklin and Chairman Mao and all sorts of people. Okay, here's Reading is the Mind, What Exercise is to the Body. This is by Sir Richard Steele, 1672 to 1729. He was an Irish writer. And this, I love this little illustration. So John, the author, also drew all of these wonderful pictures. So I highly recommend it, and you can find it anywhere, and it's on Amazon. So pick up a copy, especially if you're in the biz of speaking to people or writing, or even to your kids. I think that quote I just read you is really good for your kids. And of course, he's Irish, so you should listen to it. Thank you, John, for sending this to me. I appreciate. All righty. Now I've lost my notes. So we're talking about healthy, wealthy, and wise. So I want to move on to wealth. Let me get rid of this. I'm so sorry. I'm not organized today, but I did redo my little studio here. So how do you like that? And we have all these new things on here. Live, Judith Mancini Today, and Judith Mancini down here because I'm the host. And we always have our cryon going, and we put important things on there. And you can communicate with us while we're talking, and while you're listening, you just go over to the comments section, and you can just push this little button down here, and that says everyone, or that says in the studio. I think you can make comments for everyone that is on. I don't know. You can tell me. Juan, you can tell me if I'm right. Okay, so we're talking about wealth now after we've gone through the news and all, and I'm a little worried. Here, this show is supposed to make you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And every time I look at the news or listen to the news, it's getting really rough out there. And here you are turning 50, and you're looking forward to your golden years. But in my mind, the golden years means more for thee, meaning government and the elites, and more for thee and not for me. And I'm talking about now me being all of you who have gone into retirement and thought maybe you could supplement it. Maybe you have a great 401k, something like that. And you were depending on that for your golden years for retirement. Maybe those are still up, but maybe they're not up. Who knows what they're invested in? They're supposed to be protecting your money in a 401k, and they're supposed to give you a guaranteed interest. Well, I don't know if that's happening, but there's two ways to save. If you're working in a 401k and your company offers it, that's almost like free money because they will match you in most cases. So if you put in $10, the company will put in $10. Normally you have to put more in, but this is an example. So you put in $10 and the company puts in $10, and that keeps accruing because they're paying you 4% on it, we'll say. So most 401ks actually have a guaranteed higher rate of return. So when you take that out, you don't pay any taxes on it until you actually take the money out. And if you withdraw some to say, they'll allow you to take some out to pay down payment on a house, and you have to pay it back, and then they'll pay you interest after you put it back in on that portion of it. But when you retire and you decide you want to take the whole thing out, and I think if you retire from the company, I think that closes down your 401k at that company. I'm pretty sure it does, but I'm not a financial genius here. So that's why I always tell you, talk to your financial people. Just listen to me for some suggestions on what to discuss. So the other one is a Roth IRA, and that's for people who are self-employed or just want to save money in a Roth IRA. And as of 2022, I haven't gotten the updated one. If you make $144,000 for a single person or a married person filing jointly on your taxes, $204,000, you can't do a Roth IRA. Okay, so that's the traditional account. And the other way to get a little bit of money to help with whatever, you can get a high interest checking account, because most checking accounts and most savings accounts now are very low. You know, you can look into CDs and everything else, but that's just for your checking account. There are higher interest checking accounts. Look them up and compare them all, and the minimum balance you need to keep in and all of that, because we're all scripting and we're all trying to do something. And you want to know what I did? I convinced my husband that I wanted to get rid of cable. So what we did was, yesterday we ordered from Amazon a Roku sound bar, I think it's called. I think it was about $100, something like that. Or maybe it was more. I don't know. Look it up. You can find it on Amazon. It's a sound bar. It's about this long. And I wanted it for two reasons. I wanted it because we're on Roku now. You can get us on Roku and see us on a big screen. And the other reason I wanted to get it is I am so sick and tired of having to call the Spectrum people out to fix the cable. And then they don't give you any money back. They will if you harp on them and call them 1,000 times and get disconnected 999 times. And you have to tell them, get them out here. I need to see the news. I need to see this. Okay, so I was just sick and tired of it. So our cable bill and internet and landline, which I don't even need a landline anymore. I don't use it for business. I don't call anybody on my landline. And I have, what do we call these? Oh, for goodness sakes, the kind of phone I have. Help one. I can't think of the name of my phone. It's the one everybody uses. iPhone. Oh my God, my mind. All right, maybe I should go take a cognitive test. Oh no, that's President Biden. Okay, so I have an iPhone, and I don't know if you know this, but if your cell phone goes out and you have an iPhone and it's not very old, it has to be one of the newer ones. If the cell towers go out, your phone automatically connects to satellite so that you can call the police or the paramedics or the emergency numbers that you need. So that's a good thing to know. So you can cancel your landline and you can cancel your cable. And you just pay the fee of buying the bar that goes underneath, sets on whatever you have your TV on, or it can be mounted to the wall if you have a wall-mounted television. And you can pay for that. You pay for that, and then you pay a one-time $30 fee to have a subscription to Roku. That's all you pay. You don't pay this per month thing like you do for cable. So you get that, and you're saving your phone bill and your cable bill. All right. Our cable bill went from 200, our provider, Spectrum, charged us every month $220 for all that service. I will say that I would not change my internet because the internet now is fixed, because finally I got one of the gentlemen to come out who works on internet only, and he saw that it's had such old wiring, it wasn't connecting properly. So he rewired the whole house, and that was gracious. And he went through the walls so cords aren't running all over everywhere. So I kept the internet. Now we were paying $220 for the internet, and I have high speed, the landline phone, and the cable vision. Now I didn't subscribe to anything on cable because I'm too cheap. So we don't really watch movies and all a lot, but I saved over $100 on my bill. Okay, I got rid of the landline and my cable. So now I wanted to see certain news channels, and on the basic Sling, although it has over 1,000 channels and many local and national, and I believe international. I haven't had a chance to really check it all out yet. Many of those news stations, I wanted a specific one that is not included in that subscription. So I subscribed to Sling. To tell you the truth, I can't remember what. Oh, yes, that was bundled. I took there's two different packages. One did not have the news channel on it, so I took that one. That's the more expensive one. And then the lower one didn't have the news one on it that I wanted, but it had lots of movies added to it and all different other things. So I combined those for Sling, SLING, and I paid $30 a month. So I no longer have the cable bill because there's only the one $30 fee to connect the Roku, and then the subscription for Sling to get the added news that I wanted to get. Now, we're not really huge entertainment people. We don't really watch television too much here. So why did I want the cable? Because I couldn't get any news. I couldn't get local news. I couldn't get anything because we can't put dish up on our place because we live in a beautiful apartment complex and they don't allow things like that. So that's why I went to Roku. I highly recommend it. Nobody's paying me to say this. It's a money saver. It has the clarity. It has such a selection. Get yourself a Roku, mainly because you can see me. Our show is on Roku. Can you believe that? Judith Mancini Today makes the big time on television. And it was exactly 8 years ago, I told two of my friends that I was going to be on television. Now, before that, I could say I was podcasting and all, but I couldn't say I was on television. Now I can say I'm actually on television. So that was one of my goals, and I'm so happy that I was able to do that. So we want to talk a little bit why I am panicking for some of you out there who don't have enough saved for retirement, have retired from your current job, or just want to make some money, because now they're saying that it's the Republicans that want to get rid of Social Security and Medicare. Well, that's not exactly true. What is really true is something's going to have to be done because we're running out of money. not only are you running out of money, but we are, as a country, running out of money. That we're into the trillions of dollars in the national debt. And I don't know how they will ever pay it off. That's one of the things they're supposed to be negotiating right now. It's just absolutely terrible. Right now, the last 2 years, $5 trillion $5 trillion have been borrowed by this administration over the last 2 years. If we continue like this right now, by 2053 or sooner, our 1.4 trillion debt that we can't pay, that they're talking about not paying or paying it, by 253, and I'm questioning these numbers, but by 2053, it will be over $40 trillion that the United States will be in debt. I bet a lot of you don't even understand what's going on. I don't totally understand it, but we don't run like a person does. We could never rack up that much debt. Somebody would tell us to stop, whether you're in business as a small business person and you have a line of credit. What if you run that up and then you run all your credit cards up and you have $100,000 in debt? I bet you as a small business person, they're not going to work with you to extend that debt out because you haven't been paying it all along, or you've been paying such a low amount to it. So we're in trouble. Now, a lot of us won't be alive in 2053, but you know who will be? Your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. That's not fair. It's not wise. And if our country is that far in debt, it leaves us open for invasion. We have such a small amount of that $5 trillion amount of money that the administration borrowed over the last 2 years. Only 2.7 of it goes to our defense. Are you kidding me? We have fleets that are outdated, fleets of airplanes and fleets of ships. We don't have enough people in the military to serve. We're not getting people volunteering that we need enough. And, you know, we got rid of the draft a long time ago, and it's been a problem getting people to join the military. Why would you want to join when they have these stupid commercials on television of Daffy Duck or somebody saying join the military and you can get all these different jobs and this and that? There's no training. There's no training to defend us. It's gone down. So that's why we should be starting to worry about this national debt. Continue worrying about it. Let's see what's going to happen in the next few weeks. But I want to tell you about Social Security. It's not that somebody wants to cut it out. It's that it's running out. And by the year 2034, only the people on Social Security will be receiving 77% of what was paid into Social Security. I want you to remember, before we run out of time, who pays for Social Security? Well, the government does some, but you pay for it. You put your money into it. Now, they're all talking about cutting it out and doing this and that. And I don't know if you're on Social Security yet or not, but if you are, do you think you got as much money from Social Security as you put in for your entire career time? And as a small business person, you should be paying yourself Social Security. Don't forget that. I think that's a law if you make a certain amount of money in your small business. So check that out. There's lots of things to know when you have a small business. If you haven't started to save, which is a good thing to do, I'm just going to wrap up the show with this idea in mind. Why don't you start saving now? It's pretty rough out there because of inflation, and inflation is just rampant. And they say it's going down, but it's really not. So I don't know where you can find eggs with the avian flu or anything else, but just look at the price of eggs and butter and milk and this and that. I don't know where they take these numbers from. Do they just randomly call people and ask what the prices are? Do they go to the dairy board or the coffee board or something else to find out where they get the price of goods? Do they actually have secret shoppers that go around to the different grocery stores? I don't know. It's crazy. So it's very difficult to stretch out your retirement if you don't have any savings and you're on Social Security. So I'm just going to tell you, you might consider a side hustle. I bet you have some skills. I bet you if you never worked for a corporation, never had a small business, maybe you worked for a manufacturer, I bet you learned some skills that you don't even know you have. So you could Google side hustle or anything else and find things to do. Almost everybody has a computer, and if you don't, your local library has them, I'm sure. And for instance, in the Los Angeles library in downtown Los Angeles, they do have computer rooms and computers, and they even have classes in them. So you could retrain yourself, because I think you need to be having an income. All right. Pay off your high interest credit cards first. Make more than the minimum payment, because if you don't, you're going to be paying it for 47 years. And everybody's living to be in the 90s. Yeah, they say the age people are dying earlier, but you're not dying that early. So you need to start paying off your high interest credit cards. Try not to use your credit cards, but I know it's really darn hard in this kind of economic environment not to use credit cards for so many people in our country. It's very sad. I want you to stop the impulse buying. If you're on the internet, please stop buying things on the internet that you don't need. Like you don't need a new Frisbee or even more expensive things. That's just a silly example. You just don't need them. But you will find that some things are less expensive. Now, I order a lot of books because of my show, so I do a lot of research and all. And I use Amazon for books, so I do use Amazon for a lot of things. I don't use their new Amazon Prime Fresh or whatever they call their grocery stores. They're disgusting. They've eliminated jobs. They have people to stock the shelves. They have no checkout people. I won't use them. Shop around for a new checking account. You know, even if you pay things on the internet instead of writing a physical check, you still have to have a checking account so that you can pay things. And there are several banks that are now offering, to get the business, offering what they call high interest checking accounts. The highest one I've seen is paying 4% now. There are also credit cards where you can get money back for your purchases, some of them as high as 5%. But they have extremely high interest charges on the credit card for not paying your bill in full. So read the fine print before you get one of these things and figure out what's going to be best for you. You know, I got criticized recently for giving up my American Express card. Now, when I was working all the time, full time, and I was traveling all the time, I had a platinum American Express card, but I had to pay $500. I wouldn't even get the other card that is super something, titanium, or who knows what it is. I don't care, because I would never pay their fee for that. There are advantages to having American Express. You can join the American Express Travel, get reduced rates on some of those things. You can get tickets for any kind of concert. There's all sorts of things. You get points, and you can travel free. We went to Europe for business several times where we flew first class, and you paid for one and you got the second one free. But some of the airlines have those deals too. And American Express used to give you points for the different airlines, so you could build up points on the airlines too. So I don't know what they're doing now because I'm not traveling that much, so I don't need all those points. And I don't need an American Express card that I'm paying a lot of money for. Okay, so when you're buying a car, don't get the most expensive just to impress your neighbors, and take a look at used cars that are certified from your dealer. You can buy any car you want, but remember what the payments are. And do you really want to string it out for 5 years? You might have to now, but look for the low rates and do some dealing and check in with them before you do it. And then check the cost before you decide to buy an electric car. Really check the cost if you have to install the chargers in your home and then pay for it. Somebody told me it cost them $45 to charge their car at one of those charging stations. So really compare the fuel charges for that. And that is about all I want to say on that. I can give you more ideas on how to save money and what to do, but I really think you should try looking for an income during this terrible time. So we will be concentrating on that in some of the next shows. Thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I want to leave you with these words. Cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you.